Welcome to the Ravenswood Marbles Part 2 video. My name is Stephen Barr, and in this video we're going right back to West Virginia to discuss more Ravenswood Marbles with Ron Shepard. Stay tuned. And here you have some ravens.
Blue ravens and green ravens. And you can see the blues, brown base, but they gradually go to more and more white.
You have all the different shades.
So the company considered these blue ravens, but really collectors, you're looking at this for really the blue ravens.
That shade.
Right. And this is the green ravens over on this side.
Now, are the green ravens a little harder to find, or?
Yes.
Okay.
The very hardest is the red raven. We got some in the box down here, but I want to stay up here. The red raven's the most difficult, and then the green raven and the blue raven. And they did make them in 3/4 inch. There's a blue 3/4 inch. There's been a few greens, and my friend Nola Morgan has a 3/4 inch red raven. So they did go up to 3/4 inch. You can see the comparison size difference.
Wow.
So if you run the 3/4 inch, any of the ravens,
anything over 5/8, you got a
and
hard to find
especially the three named ravens are very hard.
And here's a close-up photo gallery of some busy blue ravens on the right. These are really among the most collectible of all Ravenswood styles. Some of these will show an attractive, almost pumpkin orange colored base. And I'm showing a few lighter colored relatives here, and this last piece is called a hybrid raven, as it features both blue and green glass in the swirls.
There is one odd one. I will pull it out of the case. That you would never suspect as being Ravenswood. It's almost a cat eye type, but I'll get some close-ups of it. That's the one you had your finger on, and there's another one right back here.
All right, let's take a closer look at some of these.
Yeah, this is a good one for the oddball. Looks like it's a swirl, but looks a lot like a cat eye. It's a yellow and orange. I need to mention that yellow.
A lot of these are dug or
mix.
Okay.
Yeah, mix.
This one looks a lot like a champion, huh?
These are dug.
Right.
And you got the collar to match those.
These are premium Ravenswoods. Look at that one. And here's a closer look at some of the styles found in these display boxes. These fluffy, bright green-based ones have a rich, velvety look to them with super dark, inky blue colored swirls. These are just gorgeous. Ravenswood also produced these opaque granny apple green-based models with a variety of blues, reds, golds, and orangey swirl color combinations. And here's a collectible Ravenswood model with a busy mix of clear glass and opaque white swirls, accompanied by translucent green swirls. And these are lined with these fine ox hair swirls. These are pretty marbles.
This is the red ravens. So we discussed the red ravens.
Is
the brown base and really nice red. And it's really good glass. You don't see much bubbles in the red. Some of the Heaton's Red Rose now, you'll find a lot of little bubbles in the red glass. And so that's one.
So that's virgin, no bubbles on the base.
Right.
Beautiful.
And very little. Some can have a little bit of white, but the better ones, you really don't want any white at all.
Okay.
You just want like this and this.
Those are great examples. Here's a close-up of a textbook red raven, and in full disclosure, this is the only one I own to date. They're very hard to find marbles. And this is a comparison photo with a group of Heaton Red Roses next to a group of Ravenswood Red Ravens. Can you tell the difference? The answer is in the video description in the text. But to help figure it out, pay close attention to this next clip where marble expert Chuck Sumner breaks down and explains the differences between both models in full detail. This is an excellent exercise in glass observation and study. Red Ravens and Red Roses by Heaton. Now I'm looking at them here. I can see a little bit of difference in the ribbon color.
The ribbon color is richer and more ruby.
On which one?
On the ravens. And if you look, I don't know if it shows in the camera, but you can see a little difference in the base. There's a little bit of a clear quality and a creaminess to the Ravenswoods and not in the roses.
Okay.
You've got an undulating pattern or a nice flowing stream on the Ravenswoods. On the Heatons, you've got this cut back, a C shape, an ear shape.
And not quite as much coverage.
They all loop back on themselves in some way. And not as much coverage.
Right, they're a little more sparse.
They also have a blank side. If you look at the blank side,
there it is.
You have this clip of color. There's a little clip of color. This one has it.
Yeah, it does.
That one has it. That one has a little
that's
tiny
a red
bit of
That's a red rose trait.
And this one doesn't have one, so
but it has an open area though. And when you spin a red raven,
there's no blank side.
How about that?
And there's no clip of color on the back. This one has a little bit of a blank side, but you still see ribbon pattern, which you don't see in the base. The base has different color qualities striated into it that you can't see on the roses.
There's more texture in the Ravenswood.
You can see this orange clear bleeding. Maybe this was not the best example. Tracing that marble, the red swirl, you can see some clear.
And you're showing a Heaton right there.
Right. This one's got it.
I see the ear shape, which is also a general Heaton trait. I mean, you're going to see it more often on Heaton than other swirls.
But that clear trace in the red, and it'll have little tiny bubbles, sometimes little pieces of furnace debris in that clear on the Heatons.
Well, Chuck, thank you very much for those keen observations and thorough explanations. And here's a close-up spin of a red raven on the left and a red rose by Heaton on the right. And just to throw a little wrinkle in the mix, I'm showing these similar examples of very attractive Ravenswood swirls with various combinations of reds, whites, and tans. And this last one has a touch of blue in the base.
Okay.
We've got a premium box. Wow, look at this spread, ladies and gentlemen. So you have an area here in the center, and these are all the same style marble.
Yeah, these are clear base ones.
Yeah.
You made them with the brown swirls and the brownish red swirls, brown and tan. And they also made them, in this section here, you'll see another row over here with the blue and brown swirls.
Right.
They're pretty easy.
It's a
recognizable
translucent baby blue base.
Clear base. It's clear base.
Oh, it's clear base.
Clear base and a blue swirl with a little bit of brown on the edge.
Okay.
And these are the clear base with a little bit of brown, or it can go to even just a little bit more red, but they're clear base.
Okay.
And you see a little bit of brown tint, but that's from the coloring here in the clear glass. But they are clear glass.
And some of these clear base swirls exhibit a smart racing stripe type pattern that make them more or less identifiable as Ravenswood made. And these clear types are pretty collectible marbles, and they tend to show off those dips and dives that the company was made famous for. And here's a close-up of the transparent red and white model, where you can see the red ribbon being traced by white on both sides of the swirl. And these are actually translucent.
Yes.
These dark ones, right?
Blue. It's a blue.
A real deep cobalt. And these are neat too. These have, this is a two-color swirl. These white ones with, I guess, brown and green.
Brown and green. And you see vary. Some of them have more brown in them and less green, and some has more green and less brown. You'll see variation. Some's more green, some's more brown. But those are Ravenswoods.
You got to name those. And here's another group that is kind of its own family with a it's a light lavender, right, base?
Yeah, it's a light lavender. It's hard to tell, light purple, and with a probably a burnt red, a reddish brown swirl to it,
and some blue, very distinct blue swirl.
And these are my one of my
these
favorites.
Are the red, white, and blues in here. These are so definitive.
These right here, I think, are some of the older ones. These were made from batch glass, not cullet, where they mixed the ingredients all from raw materials. The white is much like Christian's, just snow white. Those are older Ravenswoods.
That is a pure bright white.
And again, you can just look at the glass quality, even the coloring, how bright that transparent red is, how bright the blue is. And the yellow, you can see a little bit of yellow right here. Yellow is a rare color for Ravenswood. You can look at 5,000 Ravenswoods and you probably won't find one with yellow. I do not know why, nobody's ever figured it out. And Heaton is the other factory that is rare on yellow.
I'm showing a few variations of red, white, and blues in this sequence, where the white base approaches a bone color, and where they may include tan in the swirls. And we're going to look at the solar flare.
Okay, Ravenswood solar flares. Here's 3 examples. And they have electric yellow, and can have electric orange, or you can have yellow and orange both. The majority on a 2-tone gray base. And they all have a brown. Some of them a little bit darker brown than the others, but the yellow and the orange is electric yellow and orange.
It certainly is. It's very vibrant, and it bounces right off
And
the other colors.
they were named by Chuck Sumner, and the solar flare, if you research it, it looks like electric yellow, just a flame and things shooting off of the sun. So that's the reason they got the name. And they're Ravenswoods. I had them with Ravenswoods, and I moved them to Alleys, which most collectors did, and we moved them to Champion, because all of them I've seen have been dead mint, not a pinprick on them. But there was a lady years ago, 20 years ago, Patrick Denton in Colorado, and she knew I lived near Ravenswood and collected them, so she called me and said she had 4, came from an employee at Ravenswood Novelty, and she wanted to know if I wanted to buy 1 or 2 of them. And she sent me the pictures of them, and I'd never seen them. She said they didn't look like Ravenswoods. So I asked her the price. She said, well, if I bought 1, it was $425. If I bought 2, it was $400 each. And I was an early collector 3 or 4 years, so that was just ridiculous for me. So I didn't really think they were Ravenswood. And up till a year ago, I still didn't think they was Ravenswood. Everybody put them with Alleys. Then they were so mint and bright yellow, and the orange looked like Champion furnace colors, so bright electric yellow and orange. We put them with Champion. And then about 2 weeks ago, I was sorting marbles for Eddie Whittingham, doing a book, and he had about 6 or 8 of them, and he had one that had the yellow on it on this half, and when I picked it up and turned the marble over, the bottom half of it was an exact blue raven. It was when they were switching from blue raven to this, one way or the other, and the picture of that marble will be in his book here shortly, but they are definitely Ravenswood, and they're named solar flares now.
Okay, cool. And you have the Christmas
tree,
the Ravenswood version of the Christmas
tree. The red
tree.
and white. For years, I put them with Champion.
Okay.
And then started finding, diggers were finding the cullet and the marble on the riverbank, so they went to Ravenswood.
And that's a guaranteed definition when you find them dug, right?
And pieces, you know.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Here's the red, white, and blue and brown that you like.
Yeah,
They kind of remind you of the buttermilks, but the kind of goes to tan or brown color. The red and yellow looks like a bit of buttermilks, but this goes a little more brown. Buttermilk
They're
a little bit like yellow.
And they do look like buttermilk, just a little browner instead of the yellow. And that's very vibrant color glass there. Here we have a big group of green ravens. These are super dark ones. There's more here.
These in the upper part is what I call the batch glass. And batch glass is made from raw ingredients, the sand and all the chemicals instead of cullet. Cullet is scrap glass. You remelt glass to make the marbles. Batch glass, and that's one reason Christian agates look so snow white, is because of the batch glass. You can see it in these marbles, and you can see it in these single color swirls right here. It is so much whiter here. You can see two different shades.
It's beautiful.
And these are what they look like alleys. You can see this greens compared. Look at this white. It's more like 2% milk and whole milk. That is the difference. And the greens, even the colors, the reds, everything is much brighter on the batch glass. And Mike Johnson and I have discussed for 20 years, it'd be nice if we could separate the marbles that was made by Lawrence Alley when he was there first year than what was made later. And if there's any separation, Lawrence Alley made batch glass marbles while he was there. So I think these are made by Alley at Ravenswood.
They're going to be higher quality, and it's going to
Exactly.
show. Yeah, look at that pattern on that is dizzying. On that red, white, and blue.
The company was named Ravenswood Novelty Works. And we had a lot of trouble because the first company was named Ravenswood Glass. If you check at the county courthouse here, it took us years to run it down, but it's actually Ravenswood Glass. Started in, most of the books will tell you 1931. Ravenswood Glass started in 1929, and that was the first marbles Lawrence Alley ever made, and he made them Ravenswood. And then he left, and then Edward Seyfried took over in 1930, late 30, 31.
And they had an issue with Christensen when they first started,
That's
right?
why Alley left. It was Ravenswood Glass.
Right.
No one there knew how to make the marbles. Alley never made marbles, but he worked a lot of other glass. So he came to make the marbles. He was making marbles. You're thinking 1929, how many companies in the United States are making swirls?
0. 1, Christensen.
Christensen Agate.
And they got a little
So
pissy.
they seen these.
Right.
You got the really snow white base glass, the bright colors. So there was 2 carloads of them. You're taking early 1930. You're talking about the cars, you know. So gravel roads, they went from Cambridge, Ohio to Ravenswood, 2 carloads of them, 4 in each car, pulled up to the factory site, which was all boarded up because they didn't want nobody to know what they were making. So it was all boarded up. They went in the door and said, "You're infringing on our patent rights," took sledgehammers and broke everything up they could find, equipment and everything else. So
That's the Wild West.
that's when Mr. Alley left Ravenswood.
He got
didn't
out of there.
He didn't like confrontations with anyone or anything, so he decided
What
to
a
leave.
story.
And it sat empty for about a year, and they had to get another loan to restart up.
Holy
And that's
cow.
when Edwin Seyfried started up. He made batch marbles for the first 3 years. Then they went to cullet, making them out of cullet.
And I'm sure World War II, now, they were still around during the war, right? And you're going to cheapen the glass at that point to save money just to make it through there.
And from then on, you know, there's more companies got competition
Right.
after World War II.
The quality goes down. But these are...
With all the companies, as time went along, the quality went down.
Sure. Throughout all the
Every
companies.
company.
Right. Okay, so we have a spread of champions. So just so we can see what a group of champions look like when you compare them to Ravenswoods. Because the patterns are very similar.
These in the corner are the ones that confuse most people the most as Ravenswoods. These, once you see a group of them together, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And these are similar to Ravenswoods.
They're clear base with red, white, and blue.
Mm-hmm.
They're beautiful marbles.
And this is at the end of the new old-fashioned run at Champion. Most of these,
mid-1980s?
most of these in here, not all
And they were
of them
made
missing.
to mimic Ravenswoods.
Right. These purple ones are into the late 90s, or the pinkish, pink ones.
And you have
These-
some furnace swirls here?
No, they're in another
we
case.
looked at those.
These are often confused. I see them all the time on the internet, eBay, confused as Ravenswoods. But the blue looks almost black. And it's a little more lavender in it, and they're all shiny mint new. Those get confused with Ravenswood a lot.
And the sizes on these marbles is generally 9/16?
Yeah, 5/8.
5/8.
I've seen people confuse this one sometimes with the blue Raven.
I could see I could see me doing that.
So
In fact, I've confused this style with
this is the
with
most common one
Ravenswood.
that gets confused with Ravenswood is these.
All right. Well, thank you, Ron. And these are all furnace swirl types.
Most of them, except the corners right here.
Okay.
These aren't.
There's quite a variety here.
Other than these 2 corners, the rest of them are furnace marbles.
And what's the approximate date on these runs?
Oh, I think this was, I can't remember exactly, late 80s, early 1990, around 1990, one way or the other. And it's Wismac glass. And they know glass, you can't mix any glass just because it's glass. It has a different coefficient. And if you get too far away from, if you got 96 coefficient, you can't put 120 coefficient, or every one of them will fracture.
Is that a density measurement? Okay.
Yes. So they knew Wesmac glass, which makes plate glass for stained glass workers, they knew it was way off from the glass they normally use. So they thought they'd just put the Wesmac glass in it, and it would clean their tank out, everything was set up on the inside, so because it all fractured, they thought it'd fall off and come out. It didn't work that good. They ended up having to rebuild the tank after a while, but they knew the marbles would be fractured.
Wow.
So that's
they
why
knew in advance.
They called it furnace scraping. They thought it'd scrape the old stuff off this and that, and they knew the marbles would be fractured, so they never planned on selling any. They didn't sell any. They scrapped most of them, dumped them, and then finally the employees liked them as well, so
sure, they're gorgeous.
So they let the employees take them home.
And so this is what survived the
And
runs.
most of what's in collectors' hands now is what employees took home. Or they would all been buried. And some are fractured and some aren't. You'll find a lot of them do not have fractures and some of them do. So they're called champion furnace marbles, and some people call them champion scraping marbles. And the main colors are the yellow and orange, and then you get into the pinks and the reds and the purples and the dark browns. The dark ones, browns and closer to black, are almost always fractured bad. So it was an experiment, and they knew they were going to be fractured, but it didn't clean out the tank as good as what they thought it would. So you can't mix different glasses. There's more to it than just throwing the glass in.
It's chemistry. You
got to know the coefficient of the glass.
So these are beautiful accidents, almost.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Throwaways when they started. They planned to throw them away when they started.
I will be uploading a video soon showcasing vintage Ravenswood bags, packaging, and boxes with Ron. If you enjoyed this content, please check out some of my other videos. And thank you for watching Vintage Machine Made Marbles.